How are you, ma'am? Mitchell Sani.
Hi.
Hi. So let's come back to characteristics for the position. I'd like to go with characteristics we don't want in a police chief. We don't want a police chief like Pridgen, who sat in his car during COVID working on his laptop while his officers were inside the police station. I know this firsthand because I did go down to City Hall, watched him work in his car on his laptop sending emails, right? And I knocked on his window. Those that are local know I'm not that shy. So I knocked on his window. I'm like, Chief, what are you doing out here? Well, it's too dangerous for me to go in there. I'm like, but everybody else is in there. Are you trying to lead by example? Should everybody work from their cars from now on? What are you doing? So anyways, that's one characteristic we do not want in a police chief. Basically, somebody who cannot lead by example. I could go on and on about similar stories with Chief Pridgen, but let's come back to characteristics. Response. Key theme tonight, right? You called him and you said, hey, something's going on by so-and-so's house. Could be Councilmember Pacheco's house, Mayor Ogilvy's house. The police chief should know. If he or she is local, they would know that. Well, the current chief, acting chief, would know that because he's from here. We go back to that characteristic of being local. Another characteristic, responding to a stranger's call in the middle of the night. We had moved here about 6.5 years ago. First week in Seaside, we live up the hill, we hear everything at night. There were gunshots. I called, asked for the watch commander, I was transferred to his voicemail. It's about 10:45 at night. I can tell the difference between fireworks and gunshots, and we'll leave it there. Pop, 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 pop. Those are gunshots. 11, maybe 10 minutes past 11 o'clock, I get a call back. Now, I left the voicemail between 10:45 and 11 p.m. at night. It was Mr. Borges. He was the watch commander that night. Fast forward to a few years, a couple of years ago, I called and left a message for Chief Pridgen. Never heard back. I made some calls to the council. I hear back from his assistant. Well, if you'd like to speak with the chief, you should probably get on his calendar. Like, give me a date and a time. Well, he's not available for the next 6 weeks. Availability, even for a phone call. That's something that's important to us. Somebody who's available, responsive, actually gives a damn about people in the city. Somebody who's apolitical. Very, very important. Some folks in this room like me, most don't. It's a fact. It's a fact. And this process that we're going through right now, to all of us, seems like malfeasance because the previous city manager used such process to justify absolutely nonsensical acts, illogical expenditure on behalf of the city. And that's why you're getting the emotion from almost everyone who's in this room. Unfortunately, you're here and she's not. I think just because of the sheer incompetence that this lady has showed us, I will implore the council to fire her from both her roles. Let's come back to characteristics again. Integrity, which was absolutely lacking in the previous chief. I believe he spent in the neighborhood of $600,000 to $800,000 on training himself. Took a course at Harvard. 3 courses at Harvard. There you go. Howard, I mean, I've taken a course at Howard, but I'm a business guy. I'd like to understand the relationship between a Harvard education and local law enforcement in the city of Seaside. There is none. I've also been to Wharton and MIT and done great things. What else? What else? This chief, we would like him not to be a show and tell chief, or her, right? Ideally him, because we know who we want. I'm pretty confident we don't speak just for ourselves here. A lot of people in the city feel the way we do. Nick is a lot of things, he's not show and tell. Mr. Pridgeon, on the other hand, wanted a van to hand out healthy snacks, candy bars, and sodas. Am I right?
Yes.
I mean, stop me. I know a lot of you don't like me, so it's okay. We're all friends here. At least co-inhabitants of Seaside. All I'm saying is, we know who we want, we're not gonna get swindled, and I'm here to say, if they think they can swindle us this time, there will be consequences, political, legal, the people will take legal action. I'm already talking to a couple of attorneys. So, let's put this behind us. Promotions from within do happen for various reasons, and I think Nick's really checked off all the boxes. Again, I don't know him as such. Literally, my 2 or 3 interactions with him have been, hey, you called about gunshots? Yes, that was 6.5 years ago. A couple of years ago, met him at a prayer meeting in City Hall, like outside City Hall in the parking lot. When I got introduced to him, I'm like, oh, you're the guy. And leading up to my calls to council members a couple of months ago, I got called by anywhere between 15 and 20 people that I don't know and said, hey, can you talk to the council? We really want Chief Borges. I'm like, okay, you could call them. Well, no, you're the most vocal supporter of police in the city in city council meetings, so you should do that. I'm like, how did you get my number? Well, you have your number's on your website. Like, okay, maybe that should change, but that's a discussion for later. But what we're trying to tell you is we know what we want, or who we want. We know why we want this person. And if this time we don't get what we want, there would be consequences. And again, I implore the council members here and the mayor to fire the lady that believes she can swindle us, because Mr. Malin surely did. And he was smart enough to leave before we got together. But we're together now. Thank you.